Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be Women Like to Be Courted. Well, I've got an email here from a woman, and she's kind of having some problems with some of the guys that she's dating, and she's kind of thinks that I'm basically teaching guys just to hang out and fuck women and not give a shit about them. And what's really going on is she's just projecting what she feels is going on in her own personal life, because she's doing some things in her personal life that are causing her to continually attract the same kinds of guys, and the same pattern is happening over and over and over again. So I got a quote that I wrote in this topic, and then I'm going to go through her email and point out some things that she needs to tweak in her dating life that will help her. And the quote says, "Women like to be courted by a man who is sincerely interested in who they are as a human being, and not just because of their hot body and good looks. Women know that when a man is sincerely interested in them for more than just sex, that he will take the time to plan and create fun dates that can lead to great sex. Women know that if a guy takes the time and makes the effort to court them properly, that he really does care about them. The courtship never ends in a relationship. One of the quickest ways to kill a romance is to stop dating and courting your woman. If you don't take the time to date and court her properly, no matter what you say, she's going to look at your actions and assume you don't care about her." So let's go through her email. She says, "Hi Corey, I've been listening to some of your videos. I'm a woman and I know your stuff is for men. I teach human behavior. 90% of my clients are men, 10% of them are women. I teach this stuff. It's really, once you understand what women and men respond to, it doesn't matter what sex you are, this information will help you. This is the kind of thing that every human being on the planet needs to understand, this male-female dynamic, and why men and women do what they do. I consider myself a very feminine energy woman, so I enjoy a very masculine man. When I watch some of your videos, it really seems like they're aimed at getting a woman to chase a man she likes. It's not about getting a woman to chase a man she likes. Women naturally, instinctively will chase a man because they are natural bonders and nurturers. They're instinctively, when they feel safe and comfortable with a guy, they're going to reach out and want to bond and connect with him even more in hopes that he'll make the next date. That's basically how it happens. I discuss this in my book, and how it happens and how a guy can facilitate this. But also how, because most of the people who come to me, men and women, initially are trying to get an ex back. Something went sideways, and then so when they get into it, they learn that there's all these other things that they're doing right and wrong, and things that they need to modify in their approach so they can make themselves the most attractive version of themselves that they can be, so they can get what they want in their personal life. She says, "This generally lowers our self-esteem, and it's always been my belief that a man cannot really fall in love with a woman who acts like that." Well, the idea is that when a woman starts doing these things, when she starts reaching out to a guy, if the guy's not reciprocating, if he's starting to take her for granted, if he starts to be rude and condescending, you got to communicate what you don't like and what you want to change. And if he doesn't do that, then you simply back off. And you stop calling him, you stop texting him, you wait to hear from him. And if he values you, he'll reach out. The worst thing you can do, whether you're a man or a woman, is if the other person is just starting to neglect you and take you for granted and no longer make the effort. You don't keep making the effort to try to keep somebody in your life who's not making the effort to keep you in theirs. And the majority of the guys who originally are coming to me because I got rejected, they pursued too much. They called too much. And I point out how that by tweaking their game, they can back off just enough to where they get in a sweet spot, so to speak, to where the woman will naturally start pursuing as long as the guy dates her and courts her properly. That's the key there. I discuss this at length in my book. And it's not that this lowers a woman's self-esteem. What's happening is the woman starts to pursue a guy, and then at some point he starts to back off, probably because she's pursuing a little too much and coming off as needy and unworthy, because she doesn't think she's good enough for him. And when a woman starts to come off as needy or clingy, it's going to turn the guy off the same way that when a guy comes off that way, it's going to turn the woman off. I mean, think about it. None of us like to be around people who are consistently kissing our asses and acting like they're just not worthy to be in our presence. Eventually, we're going to start treating them exactly the way they perceive themselves. She says, I feel confused. I actually have had the experience pretty much every time of feeling diminished and his interest decreased when I, as a woman, contact a man I'm interested in. That's bad for the relationship. It's not bad for the relationship. Your problem is that when you're noticing that a guy's starting to back off, you continue to pursue and reach out more because now you're emotionally engaged. That's where you're going wrong. And so when you start contacting a guy and you're doing it more frequently and he starts to take you for granted, or he doesn't ask you out, or he acts like he doesn't care, or he's annoyed with you, don't call him again. Wait to hear from him. That's how you communicate your value, and that you're not going to continue to pursue a guy who doesn't value and appreciate you and respect you. That's where you're going wrong. Usually what happens, as I can see, is that I feel pursued for a period of time by the man. As a woman, and it's like what I talk about in my book, the guy really only has to reach out and set a date once a week, usually for the first 3 weeks. Sometimes a woman starts reaching out, pursuing a week or two later, and then you just make the next date. It's really simple, actually. As a woman, I generally take time to develop some interest for several reasons. Number one, he's usually over pursuing as you talk about. Good job on that. Number two, women need time to emotionally bond in general to develop sexual interest in a man. Here's another woman confirming the things that I teach in my book and I talk about in countless videos. We need romance and to know there's long-term potential. The reason being is that's why the courtship is so fucking important. When I talk to guys that are in marriages or long-term relationships, that's when's the last time you took your girlfriend out? When's the last time you guys went on a date? And it's usually the first thing, we're busy with the kids about 2 months ago. Or they don't date their wife or their girlfriend. They're no longer making her feel special. If you care, you're going to take the time. You're going to want to go out to dinner. You're going to want to spend time with her. You're going to want to go play miniature golf. You're going to want to go to play pool together. You're going to want to go-karting. You're going to want to go to the park and pack a picnic. You're going to want to go out in your boat, or you're jet skiing, or you may want to go on a weekend vacation together, or go stay at a bed and breakfast together. When a guy cares, when he loves a woman, when he values a woman, when he wants to make her feel special, because love is all about giving. It's not so much about receiving. It's about giving to the other person just because you want to make them happy. And when somebody cares, they're going to do those things. But when they no longer care, they stop doing those things. When the other person stops investing, you've got to back off. Because when the other person backs off and you start to do more, they start to value less and less. I remember one of my aunts when I was a little kid. We lived in Illinois. We lived in Illinois from the time I was 2 till I was 7. And so my aunt, who was single pretty much her whole life, she lived with her parents, and she was a teacher. She made good money, and she saved everything. She didn't have to spend money on nothing. And so I remember, like, in December after Thanksgiving, when Christmas would start rolling around, I would wait for that. I knew what the UPS truck sounded like as the guy was shifting gears. And when I would hear that, my brother and I were like, we'd like Spider-Man to the front windows. And then we see him getting out with this big giant fucking box, and it would usually be loaded with gifts from either grandparents. Like my aunt went crazy overboard. And this happened like every year. And I don't remember this, but my mom, when she was alive, used to tell us this story. Was that there was a year, I don't remember how old we were, that there literally, I had pictures of this. I mean, the presents would be stacked up almost as high as a Christmas tree, all around the Christmas tree. There were so many fucking gifts. And at least half of them were from that one aunt. I mean, she would just buy, my brother and I would each get boxes of gifts. And I mean, like literally, like dozens and dozens of presents. And so my brother and I were literally standing there one year, like on Christmas or before Christmas, and looking at just like you couldn't hardly see the tree anymore. There were so many presents around the tree. And I looked at my little brother and I was like, we didn't get that much for Christmas this year. That fucking pissed my mother off because they didn't have a lot of money back then, and they would pick out like 5 gifts for us. Like they really put some time into it. And like literally my parents are buying us 5 gifts and my aunt's buying us like 20, 30 presents a piece. I mean, she just went overboard with the stuff. And so she She said after that, she called my aunt on the phone. She says, don't you ever send another box. You can buy them a couple of gifts, 3 or 4 gifts, but that's it. Don't ever send them any more of those giant gifts of presents again, because they don't appreciate it. It's like they take it for granted. That's true. So when we get too much of something, it's like, think about it. I like Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. It's fucking delicious. So you can have like the little tiny one of it, and it's delicious. And you can have like the pint of it. It's like, that's really good, but it's kind of a little too much. Can you imagine eating like a fucking gallon of that? It's like, you're going to be feeling sick after that. So it's like too much of anything in life, we start to take it for granted. So it's important to recognize that when we're not being valued and we're starting to be taken for granted because they're getting too much of us, that you need to back off. She says usually, even though he's over pursuing, when he stops or decreases that, I will notice and feel sad, although yes, my attraction increases. Here's yet another woman. It's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. And so when you notice that happening, the worst thing you can do is to continue to reach out. If he backs off, you back off. And that's what you're continuing to pursue when the guy backs off. Because at that point, you're emotionally engaged and you don't want to lose him. You fear losing him. And because you're driven by fear, you literally chase him right out of your life to where he doesn't want you anymore. As a woman, I want a real relationship, not a date where I have to call him, go to his place, and bring him wine to get me drunk and have sex, only to be cast out the next day and not hear from him. We got to understand that particular date, because again, most of the people who come to me are trying to get an ex back. And when you've been blown off and they don't want you anymore, you've been friend zoned, that person needs to earn you back, and therefore you're not going to go out of your way. They need to come to you. And so if you get blown off and he calls you and wants to take you out, if you're a woman, you can use the same shit on the guy. Say, you know what? It's been a long week and I'm just in the mood to hang at my place. Why don't you grab a bottle of wine and come on over and we'll make dinner together. And he can fucking come to you. You don't have to have sex with him, but if you want to see him and you want to spend some time, make the fucker come to you. Make him earn you. Make him do the work. Why go out? Why travel across town to his place? Make him fucking come pick your ass up. That's standing up for yourself, and you're obviously not doing it. That's why you're having these bad experiences. Because you're just going along with this shit, hoping it's going to change. You're being a bad negotiator for yourself, in essence. Anyway, I'll cut the chase. Women like to be courted. Absolutely. This is what I teach. I got a chapter in my book. The courtship never ends. Most of us want to be with one special man in a monogamous relationship. And for me, marriage. According to your advice, it does not sound like that's anything you are encouraging men to do. That's fucking total nonsense. You obviously have never read my book. And since you haven't read my book, you're probably watching a few videos here and there, and you're trying to put a label on what I'm teaching because obviously you're seeing some of the same behaviors that you're exhibiting, that guys exhibit, that are getting them turned off. And you don't like it. But the bottom line is, you're doing things that are turning guys off. You're not backing off when guys are starting to not value you anymore. That's where you're going wrong. A woman does not want to pursue a man and wants him to pursue her. I know society has told you that that's what you've wanted, but you even confirmed in here yourself that you pursue men. All women do it. Women who are natural, who are healthy, they're going to pursue a guy who treats them right. It's just the way it is. You don't like it? Talk to the big man upstairs. I didn't have anything to do with that. I'm just doing my part to decipher the mystery. But you got to do your part to modify your actions, because you're literally chasing guys out of your life to where they just blow you off and don't want anything to do with you anymore, because you act like you're not worthy and you're not marriage material to a guy. A woman does not want to pursue a man and wants him to pursue her because it makes her feel feminine and wanted, and the other guy does not. Well, the bottom line is, the guys that continue to call you and blow your phone up and over pursue you, you blow them off. And you've admitted that. I mean, you even talk about that in the beginning of your email. So it's like you're saying one thing, but you're not really looking at your actions and how you've interacted with men in the past. This is why when guys get advice from women, it's so confusing and it never is useful. It doesn't help them. Because most women don't really get why they do what they do. And that's why you need to read my book. As a woman, you need to read my book because you'll learn a lot. It's not that you shouldn't pursue a man, but you need to learn to back off when you're seeing that he's losing interest. What is the best way for a woman to go about this without the guy thinking he's a poor asshole being used for his time, money, and affection? Like I said, it's a balancing act. It's an art. It's not a science. The guy's initially going to start courting you. Your emotions become engaged. You start liking him. You start reaching out to him more. You start spending more time together. But if he starts backing off or taking you for granted, then you back off and wait to hear from him. And I know it's nerve-wracking because you're like, am I ever going to hear from this guy again? Maybe a week goes by and you don't go out. But then when he does reach out, he's a lot more affectionate. He's a lot eager. He's going to spend more time. He's going to put more planning into the date. And if he's not, tell him. Just say, you know what, I really like it when you take your time to make reservations at a nice restaurant or pack a nice picnic basket and surprise me with something at the lake. I like it when you put time and effort into making and creating a really great date for the both of us. That's important to me, and I want to see that continue. Because I've noticed that you're not putting as much care and attention into your dates lately as you were a few weeks ago or in the beginning. And I definitely want you to know that I'm noticing that, and that bothers me. I want to feel wanted. I want to feel special. I want to feel sexy. And if you really care about me and you really appreciate me, you will show me consistently. Look the guy right in the eye and say, the courtship never ends. Women all know that if you care as a man, you're going to show up and you're always going to put the time and the effort in to make great dates. Doesn't mean they have to be extravagant or expensive, but you got to put the time in and figuring that shit out and showing us a good time. If you do that, we'll never leave your side. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I shall talk to you soon.